This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
First, we got to start coming out of Turning Point. You knew that you were going to get this best of three, I have to imagine. How excited were you to add a third match to this trilogy with Joe?
Well, Joe was one of my favorite wrestlers to wrestle in TNA. Him and AJ Styles, those two guys, I had a great time working with them every single time. And I was really excited to be able to do 3 pay-per-views in a row with Samoa Joe. He's awesome. I absolutely love the guy.
I found it very fascinating. I was going back through the archive in preparing for this episode, and you talked about how Samoa Joe was not someone that you wanted to face right away upon coming into TNA. At this point, you've had a couple matches with him. Did your thoughts change at all on that front?
No, once we did the first one, we had to continue on. There was no way backing out of that. But I would have rather held off because he was undefeated. He was really hot. I was hot coming into the company, and I thought that we should just rub elbows for a few months and, pass each other by in the hallway and, give each other crazy looks and just try to build it up, nice and slowly. But they wanted to do it right out of the gate when I got to the company, and I understood why. I mean, it was you look what the pay-per-view buys we did for that first pay-per-view. They spiked way up for TNA pay-per-view buys. It was, knowing that Joe and I were going to wrestle, I knew that we were going to have a spike in the pay-per-view buys.
Yeah, once you guys finally started rubbing elbows, as you said, and you had these 2 matches, I have to imagine there had to have been some shift in that mentality where you're like, you know what, I like wrestling this guy. Like he could bring out the best of me. Let's get to it. Was that kind of the ideology at that time?
Yes, sir. You're absolutely right.
Okay, that's what I thought here. So it's a very simple story, and I love that when you don't overcomplicate pro wrestling storytelling. You win the first match, he wins the second match, so we have to do best 2 of 3 here.
The rubber match.
The rubber match, exactly. But would you have liked to have prolonged this a little more and maybe held it out a little bit, or are you of the belief that when you have a story like this, you got to pay it off immediately?
I believe you have to pay it off immediately. If you do a program and you get away from it and start another program and you go back to the beginning program, it doesn't make sense. I think once you start it, you need to go through and finish it before you start a new program.
Well, this is an interesting little note here in the Observer. On December 20th, the wrestlers are informed that TNA isn't paying for hotels and rental cars anymore. Was that part of your guarantee in your contract at the time that you did have that stuff taken care of?
Yes, and I didn't even know about that. I thought that the wrestlers still got their hotel and car paid for. I did for the whole 11 years I was there. It's a shame that they didn't get it continuously like they should have. But they took care of me. I can't complain.
Did you ever feel like there was any heat on you for having some of that top guy treatment, or do workers just understand that that's kind of what came with the territory at the time?
I think they understood it came with the territory. I was the top guy in the company, and I probably deserved to get paid the most. And I think they understood that. I don't think I had any heat with anybody.
Well, it's also reported at this time your second match with Joe did half of your first buy rate. So why do you think that is? And out of my curiosity, if you feel comfortable talking about it, are you paid based on pay-per-view buys at that time? Is that part of your contract as well?
No, I got a guaranteed check every week. So I didn't have to worry about pay-per-view buys or ticket sales. It was guaranteed to me. But what was your first question? I wonder.
Why do you think the buy dropped like that?
Well, because the first match was the biggest match, and you're going to have the spike in the pay-per-view buys. And if the second pay-per-view, if we did more buys than when I got into the company, before I got into the company, if we were doing more buys still in the second match, at least we made an improvement. So I think we still did more pay-per-view buys in that second match than before I entered the company when they were doing pay-per-views. So even though it was half as much as the first pay-per-view that I wrestled Samoa Joe, it was still an improvement. And that means that the company was still going forward.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.